up against Gold Gaming Los Angeles, ggLA over here on the blue side. And while we see the signature champions already locked in here, we have Bischu picking up his already, well, he's played a lot recently and kind of gotten a little noteworthy for it on his Gragas, as well as NydusHerMain on that Thresh, and we have Khaz'ix in the top lane for Yazuki. Whereas on the flip side, Zig making his, I don't want to say his debut, but his reappearance in the challenger scene, taking a Jayce in the top lane, and a very interesting Nami Lucian combination coming out from Velocity's bottom duo.
Yeah, this is gonna be an interesting game to watch. Yazuki's a summoner who kind of fell out of the competitive scene for a while. He's recently made a resurgence. Zig has not been in the limelight for quite some time. This is I believe the first game that we'll be seeing him playing in a game of some consequence. And oh, Bischu!
Oh, Bischu barely not getting that bubble right there as he narrowly escaped death as Velocity were stacked up as a group of 5, but in waiting to do so, they've given up a lot of vision control on their side of the map. Yazuki just waited in that tri-bush top lane, and Nydus is able to plant down wards deep into the enemy red buff area. There's also wards down on their own red buff side of the map, so they're going to be hip to whatever kind of tricks NK Inc's going to try pulling with that very highly mobile early Vi jungle pickup. So I mean, it worked out for KOR Gaming when they got those deep wards down against TBD and were able to track the motions of their early ganking jungler. It wound up working out extremely well for them. However, in this circumstance, we've yet to see where it's going to wind up going down. And it looks like we might have actually lost Malphus, so I know you guys out there might have to hate this, but I'm going to be talking a little bit more often in this game, at least until we get Malphus back on the microphone here. So we're going to start a red buff start for KOR Kez, whereas on the flip side for NK Inc, he's going to wind up picking up a blue buff for himself. So starting on opposite buff sides, but potentially meeting up in that top lane matchup, which is what we talked about in Champion Select, going to be something very, I don't want to say volatile, but very hyped up. If Jayce can get an early advantage, he'll start to zone Khaz'ix out, but Khaz'ix has a very powerful level 2 and 3 all-in, which with a very high damage early game Lee Sin, could potentially cause a lot of trouble for the side of Zig in that top lane matchup. So we're going to keep our eyes peeled up here as the junglers go throughout their jungle routes, and we'll have to see if that becomes the matchup that we thought it was going to be.
Such crash, much wow.
Such crash, much Skype.
No, that was actually, my whole computer just died.
Oh,
so
well.
But thankfully, SSDs are OP, so I'm getting back into the...
Right now, you're actually missing the fact that Zig dropping down extremely low. Yazuki with a red pot start, pops the ignite, gets Zig down to, what is that? It is 20 HP already at level 2, while the junglers are dueling up by these double golems. I just mentioned it, saying that this top lane is going to be a kind of area of aggression, and it's starting out with a bang right here. Yazuki forces Zig back at level 2, and we also see KOR Kez forcing NK Inc out of his own jungle. Now, NK Inc's left to defend against his top lane tower here. Zig is coming back into lane, but he hasn't really picked up any extra damage. He has a Doran's Blade, which he started with. He has a ward and some consumables to keep him healthy, and that's pretty much it right here. So Yazuki already off to a great start and securing himself a 10 CS advantage up here.
Absolutely, and that's what Khaz'ix is all about, is just abusing the early game, and then once he hits level 6, just picking your evolution wisely. Fragnatic in trouble in the mid lane.
Ooh, yeah, Fragnatic dropping extremely low. Barrel goes out, and he has the burn damage from the red buff ticking away on him. Not going to be enough to kill, but so far the story of the game has been ggLA just bullying Velocity from the get-go right here. We even have Nydus and Bobbyhankhill pushed up extremely close to the tower, although it looks like Bobbyhankhill is going to eat a bubble right here. Evaniskus drops a Tidecaller's Blessing on himself, puts a bit of damage back on the Caitlyn, and, well, ggLA is going to think twice about harassing under tower right now.
Yeah, and Bobbyhankhill was, you could maybe make the argument that he was a little fortunate that the Ardent Blaze from Frommaplestreet hit a creep instead. KOR Kez stepping forward, going to try to get some aggression down here. Just going to safeguard himself back out to Bischu.
Yeah, and now we have kind of Lee Sin being that omnipresent jungler on the map. He's going to be able to go everywhere across the map because he's extremely mobile. Sonic Wave, Resonating Strike, Safeguard, Iron Will combinations. He can hop camps even quicker than Vi can Vault Breaker over them. And he's already been a thorn in NK Inc's side, but he is spending a lot of time being a nuisance and not a lot of time farming in this early game, as he does have a slight CS disadvantage despite bullying NK Inc out of his own jungle. They're spending a lot of time in this top lane area now that Vi has to hold mid lane due to forcing Orianna back, and we'll have to see if they can capitalize on something here, as they are going to wind up going on to Zig. He winds up getting knocked out, winds up forcing back KOR Kez. Yazuki not enough DPS to put out on him to get a kill, and it looks like that they waited in that top lane, but Zig was able to stay alive.
Yeah, and Yazuki actually, he kind of needs to kill Zig pretty quickly here. He's got 350 gold invested in that red elixir that he's never going to see again. So if he's not able to come out of this laning phase with at least a 15 to 20 CS advantage, then he didn't even really get anything effective out of it. And because of that roam, he's actually now the one that's behind, as now we see KOR Kez potentially getting caught out.
Not only is KOR Kez potentially getting caught out in the top lane, but a lot of aggression in the bottom lane. A Safeguard and an Iron Will combination will keep KOR Kez alive, as Yazuki is also extremely low. And now we have Officer Vi here in this top lane, definitely putting a bit of a restriction on where Khaz'ix and Lucian are going to be able to move in that lane matchup, keeping them underneath that tower and actually forcing KOR Kez to start a recall, Yazuki to start a recall. They're both really low, but they can't give up a lot of aggression in that top lane. Yazuki had a 10 CS advantage, but as soon as he came back in the lane and that red elixir faded away, like you said, Malphus, 350 gold went unanswered, and actually he's starting to get a CS deficit against Zig, who now that he has level 2 of that Shock Blast, is going to be dishing out a lot of damage at Khaz'ix while he can't really respond with.
And that's the rough part of this matchup as well. The fact that Jayce has so much range, has so much poke, and Yazuki has to hard commit. He has to go in if he wants to try to make this happen, if he wants to try to force the issue. If KOR Kez is in the area, then he can do that safely. But if they don't know where NK Inc. is, or if you know, they don't have the support from the Lee Sin, that's a very, very scary proposition.
Bischu in the mid lane actually dishing out a lot of damage against Fragnetic, forces the flash away from Orianna while the Ignite's ticking away. Orianna drops extremely low, but so does Lisa in the top lane, has to flash away, goes back in onto Zig, gives up first blood, but he does get a kill answered for himself. Trying to snipe away first blood was KOR Kez, but he wanted to give it away in a 1-for-1 trade.
Very, very nice play there from Zig, just playing super, super aggressive, recognizing the opportunity. KOR Kez just stuck around a little bit too long trying to defend that tower, thought that he was a little bit too escapable and a little bit too tanky, and was made to pay the price for it.
Well, Zig picks himself up first blood, which with a 350 gold investment in that red elixir coming out from Yazuki, and then the extra bonus gold from first blood going over to his lane opponent, he's not going to be too happy about that one. Bischu has, however, gotten a throttle on this mid lane matchup. Not only is he ahead in CS from Fragnatic, he's forced his lane opponent back twice without ever going back to buy himself. Bottom lane, we actually see Nydus landing a hook onto Evaniskus, wanted to pop in the play, but Evaniskus turns this one around. Bobbyhankhill, though, putting out a lot of supplemental DPS, forces the flash away from Evaniskus. Nydus did get ignited right there, but all they had to do was drop the lantern right there and keep himself healthy from that situation. NK Inc. is coming around the side, though, and without a lot of vision control in the river, ggLA needs to kind of be preemptive of where Vi's movements are going to be to keep themselves safe. Vi decides she's going to go back and give Orianna a potentially much-needed blue buff here instead, so Bobbyhankhill will be content to sit here and get himself a little extra CS before going back.
Absolutely, yeah, and that's, I mean, one of the best things about picking off a support, whether you pick up the kill or not, if you can force them back to the base, you can force the opposing AD to play 2v1, and that, you know, generally speaking, will mean that you can zone them out and play aggressively. But if you're in a situation where your support isn't there either, it means that you're safe. So you see Zig, you know, he's just doing that that standard Jayce trait. You just go in, deal a bunch of damage, and then punt the guy away before you can answer.
Yep, so Jayce just continuing to rain aggression down upon Yazuki and being able to just shock blast him under tower like that. There's not a lot of response, but one thing Yazuki has done well in this lane matchup is despite all the harassment being put down upon him by an opponent who is ahead, he's still continued to keep up in CS, and that's one of the things that we thought was going to be difficult for him in this matchup. We'll have to see here if they wind up trying to get something done here. KOR Kez comes around, but he's spotted out by not only Zig, but by NK Inc. Charges up the Volt Breaker, kind of misses right there, but KOR Kez going to turn around here as Yazuki wanted to go down to Tetris God Zig. Assault and Battery goes down. Yazuki has to pop the ultra to get himself out of there. KOR Kez answers with a kill, gives the assist over to Khaz'ix. They're both extremely low. NK Inc. picks up KOR Kez, but Bischu comes in from mid lane. He secures the kill on NK Inc., and Yazuki stays alive.
Yeah, he just barely got himself out of that one. Bischu showing up just in time. And I like the fact that NK Inc. and Zig stayed very, very close together throughout that fight. They did not want to offer Yazuki the opportunity to pick up that isolation bonus damage, but it wasn't quite enough. The hook goes down on Evaniskus.
Yeah, hook goes down from NydusHerMain. There's an extra auto attack damage from Flay, but Bobbyhankhill took a lot of burst coming out from Frommaplestreet. There we go again, just a duck in there and the double hit, but the box goes down. Another play from NydusHerMain. Bubble gets cleansed out right here. Bobbyhankhill wants blood. He's being zoned up by Evaniskus, and Nydus taking a lot of damage from Frommaplestreet. There's the ace in the hole, blocked up by Evaniskus. Nami right there, and this trade looks like it's going to settle down for the time being.
Very, very strong play here from both these guys. They're continuing the trades. NydusHerMain using the Flay to get him just into range to land the box. Almost got him onto a point of the box where he'd end up proccing 2 walls almost immediately. And now KOR Kez is in here. He wants the gank.
KOR Kez, there's the tidal wave, not going to hit anybody. KOR Kez comes out in the brush, and here's NK Inc. though. Vault Breaker goes in. There's the lantern goes out to Bobbyhankhill. KOR Kez shielded himself over to Caitlyn as well, but didn't actually follow the lantern in that circumstance here. So 3 members apiece in this bottom lane matchup. Actually, it could be 4. We see on the mini-map now, Yazuki roaming down from base. Bischu coming down in this blue buff area as well. They're going to want to try to catch out NK Inc. right here. Winds up finding a wild Bischu in the brush. He has to go back. Then a hook lands onto Frommaplestreet. Lantern comes out. In comes Yazuki. Lots of damage from those enlarged claws going out. And a kick backwards from KOR Kez. Double kill picked up for Yazuki. 5 members strong from ggLA down here. Net 2 kills against Velocity.
And okay, here's the worst feeling in the world in League of Legends, is as soon as Yazuki got pulled in by that Thresh lantern, we saw the MIA ping come out from Zig up in the top lane. Where he was like, the guy didn't come back to my lane yet, I don't know where he is, and then right then he shows up in another lane to gank, and it's like, oh, well, sorry guys. Really, really nice map movement there from Yazuki. Zig is gonna do what he can, he's gonna like take away the only thing that he can't take away when you make a play like that, but that's just a huge trade going over in favor of Gold Gaming Los Angeles right now. They get to the 2 kills, they get the dragon, and they just open up so much of the map.
Well, not only do they get those kills in the dragon, but they get them on Yazuki himself. So 2 kills picked up for Khaz'ix there. That's going to put him in line. Not only does it make up for his red elixir, but it also gives him a lot of itemization. You can take back into this top lane and potentially try to nuke down Zig before he gets knocked away. Bischu has a couple fancy moves for himself, but the Assault and Battery goes down. Can't really get away from that one. Flash goes out. In comes KOR Kez to try to help out. Zig wants to take into the skies upon Lee Sin. The command Shockwave comes up from Fragnatic. Now KOR Kez has to flash away. A lot of trouble coming out from this one. Shock Blast and a flash auto attack from Fragnatic, going to pick up a kill. But here comes Yazuki. NK Inc. goes in onto Bischu. He's going to want to take a large claw in the face for that one. But it's still a 3v2 situation here with no support coming in from ggLA's bottom lane. Explosive Cast goes off. It forces away Velocity, and a 3v2 situation is going to stabilize after 1 kill for Velocity.
So much pressure coming down here. These exchanges are lasting for so long because people don't have like their big items yet, and they're being very, very cautious with their positioning. Like no one's really getting caught out necessarily. Like that gank in the bottom lane was kind of the first opportunity I've seen someone was just like, oh, okay, now I get to use all my damage on you. And when they did, people died very, very quickly. But beyond that, this has been very much a mind game heavy battle, as teams are constantly trying to reposition, constantly trying to find the upper hand, and so far, I mean, it really hasn't gone, you know, in either team's favor. The gold gap right now is only 200 in favor of ggLA.
Yeah, some farm counts are definitely on the side of Velocity, specifically that top lane matchup. And the jungle matchup is definitely in favor of NK Inc. as he's been able to farm a lot, whereas the boots of mobility from Lucian, we said he's been waiting and trying to set things up for ggLA and sacrificing farm in order to do so. Hook goes wide to the right for Nydus, but he winds up throwing the lantern down. In comes KOR Kez, winds up missing the Sonic Wave onto Frommaplestreet. The box goes down, the KOR Kez winds up actually saving the kill. Nydus picks that one up through the Ignite, it looks like. Tried to get that one over to Bobbyhankhill, but KOR Kez has taken a lot of damage in that trade.
KOR Kez used Smite with Iron Will up to keep himself alive in that one. He got taken down so incredibly low, I'm not sure he would have made it out if he hadn't been able to Smite a creep right then. That was just fantastic presence of mind from him to be able to find just that tiny, tiny little bit of extra spell vamp to keep himself alive in this one. This Fragnatic's going to get ganked on his way to blue.
Ooh, Bischu actually uses everything right there to burst down Fragnatic as low as possible, but he is actually able to secure the blue buff for himself still. But now with Fragnatic having to push away from this mid lane and maybe go back and heal, that's a lot of damage that Bischu can put down on an already low mid lane tower, and it's going to force NK Inc. to go in this bottom lane, where Evaniskus has been 1v2 him this whole time. Assault and Battery comes out, down onto NydusHerMain. He's actually going to take an extremely low, has to flash away from this one. The Tidecaller's Blessing was put down. Good flay after the flash on the NK Inc. Does NK have enough to close the gap right here? 1-0 attack on Nydus is not enough. Vault Breaker goes down into tower range. He's going to want to pick up a kill. He has a Spirit Stone, the Ancient Golem, so Bobbyhankhill just going to be taking pot shots at him right here. But in comes KOR Kez, misses down onto Evaniskus. Can he get the kill over to Bobbyhankhill? The heal's going to keep Evaniskus alive, but one more auto attack from Caitlyn's going to seal the deal. In comes Frommaplestreet, and they're going to have to back away from NK Inc., but it's a 1-for-1 trade, and one picked up for the AD carry of ggLA.
And that's gold where they really, really need it. They need this Caitlyn to come out of the laning phase super far ahead of Lucian right now. Bischu and Fragnatic added again in the mid lane. Bischu wants no part of it.
Yeah, Bischu actually going to be in trouble with that blue buff on Fragnatic. The command Shockwave goes out. Bischu takes one last drink before he falls down. Fragnatic with a solo kill for himself. But speaking of solo kills, Zig down extremely low. Yazuki chasing down onto him. Picks up a kill before the knockback goes off. And Khaz'ix coming out big in that matchup against Jayce.
Yeah, that's the strength of those evolved claws in that matchup. He's getting the bonus range, he's getting so much bonus damage on that isolation. Ziggs is getting absolutely wrecked every single time, and this is kind of that power spike phase. Yazuki's also about to hit level 11, so if he evolves the leap second, then he's going to have additional mobility to close the gap on that Jayce. Like, the extra range is going to come out, it's going to be huge, and he'll be able to get the resets as well, so the tower diving pressure becomes immense as well.
And not only that, but it's going to draw NK Inc. into this top lane matchup because Yazuki is going to be a force to be reckoned with. He has a Tiamat, so he's a split push threat as well on top of everything else. Evaniskus eats a Sonic Wave Resonating Strike, has to pop the Tidal Wave, does hit every single member from the side of ggLA. Ace in the hole goes off, though. KOR Kez winds up putting down the Dragon's Kick, but actually has to back away. The shield saving Evaniskus from those last ticks of red buff from KOR Kez.
KOR Kez just did not quite calculate that damage. He thought that he had the ability to finish it off there with just the ultimate, but it was not enough, and Fragmatic was there with the shield to make sure that the red buff wasn't enough to clean it up. That was a little bit unfortunate there for the side of Gold Gaming Los Angeles. They thought that they had that kill in the bag, and KOR Kez is not going to be too happy about that one.
An unfortunate circumstance as far as kills go, but they do secure the mid lane tower, and that is the first one of the game for themselves. Bottom lane is extremely low, and this entire time, Nydus is being a nuisance, keeping Frommaplestreet from going back to try to heal himself up, as well as spend the gold that he has in his inventory. It's also bot time for Bobbyhankhill to go back and complete his own Bloodthirster, so now Lucian, he's going to have to give up this tower, or it's going to draw jungle pressure from NK Inc., which means that Yazuki, as well as Bischu in that top lane, are going to be able to take down that tower. So ggLA have identified what they need to do. Towers are priority, and they're splitting up velocity to try to do so. Zig's gonna go in here, but he finds Bischu out of the brush. Yazuki had tower aggro. He wants it jumping out of there with that leap. Ignite goes down. Bischu picks up that kill, and that tower is surely going to fall like a domino right after that one.
Yeah, very, very smart roaming coming out here from Bischu. He's consistently finding opportunities to put himself in the right place at the right time to make plays. In that case, they were going to be able to pick up that kill. They're going to be able to pick up that tower. This is exactly what ggLA need right now. But the response from Velocity is immediate, and they're going to be able to take down this tower as well.
Yeah, 4 members strong from Velocity have roamed cross-map to take down that tower, and they know that dragon is available. So they're going to try to put pressure on that global objective and try to force ggLA to respond to them. Oh, hook goes down from Nydus, lands onto Evaniskus. There's the Command Protect onto NK Inc. KOR Kez taken down extremely low, about half HP. Tidal Wave goes off, and Nydus goes down. Command Shockwave and the Assault and Battery land on Yazuki. Has to leap and flash. Actually, only the leap flash is still available away from that one. Now that's Velocity taking a kill for themselves. Not only that, but they force 3 extremely low members of ggLA back, and that's going to spell Dragon for them.
That, you know, generally speaking, the Orianna Vi combination doesn't work out that way. See, Bischu gonna try to get in, won't be able to find anybody to snipe out. But generally speaking, it's not Shockwave first and then Assault and Battery second. But that's what it ended up being that time. Is NK was just like, oh, here's a giant group of people that I can just ult somewhere in the middle of and do some good things. So, I mean, they just got, again, it's a situation where so much AoE damage was dealt to a team that they all had to back away, and just like that, Velocity were able to secure the objective.
So Velocity is able to find the fight that they were looking for, and even though ggLA were spreading people across the map, it's Velocity that finds a crack in the armor and winds up picking up kills and securing their first dragon of the game. It closes the gold gap to only a couple hundred, and the kill count is still incredibly close at a 9-6 score. Both teams have only 2 towers down, and I'm waiting for ggLA to try to push down on that very low HP outer bottom tower, whereas Velocity still has about, I want to say 7/8 of the HP on the mid lane outer tower to take down. So it could be ggLA answering with a global objective of their own and trying to force down the outer tower, but we'll have to see. Their rotations so far have been to try to spread Velocity across the map, and Velocity with that fight, that's the first time they came together, didn't react to where the other members of ggLA were and took a fight to the few members they knew were there.
Ooh. Bischu tried to take away the blue buff, wasn't able to do it, and they were able to put it on a Fragmatic as well. So that, you know, that's crucial. That buff control going on to the AD carry, or AP carry rather, very important.
Alright, so it looks like they do have Orianna securing another blue buff for herself, and it's kind of been help for her because Gragas was bullying her in that mid lane matchup for levels 1 through 8. Once she got that blue buff, she was able to pick up a solo kill on Bischu, and since then has snowballed that into more kills and more kills in that team fight. Bischu's been roaming around, whereas Orianna has actually been focusing on CS, and actually Bischu, speaking of that roam, comes up in the top lane, winds up picking up an explosive kill there onto Zig as he just gets blown up. That bottom lane tower for ggLA, they do pressure that one down. Now we have, it looks like it's actually Fragnatic in the bottom lane matchup with Maplestreet and Evaniskus. Bobbyhankhill is actually going to step forward. Nydus is able to get away from that one with the AD carry sacrificing himself for the support. It's a double deed we don't see every day.
Exactly, and that was, he basically was in a situation where he knew he wasn't getting out. Fragnatic had flashed forward and positioned the ball in Bobbyhankhill's escape path. So the best thing that he could have done is walk forward and then get slowed out by the distance. He did not have flash available. 90 caliber net had already been used. There was no escaping that one, so he just stepped into it and said, you know what, if I do chase and they use the distance to slow me, they're also going to use it to hasten themselves up, and there's a potential that Nydus will have to burn a flash. I don't want that to happen. Yazuki going to get ulted in the mid lane.
Yeah, actually the Assault and Battery goes down. A quick kick back into the wall against NK Inc. is going to spell disengage for the side of 3 members of ggLA. Flash away from the bubble, make sure Yazuki gets out of there scot-free for the time being. Now, as you see Velocity grouped up as 5 strong towards this mid lane here. They're going to want to try to put pressure down on the last remaining outer tower for ggLA's side of the map. They know that some ultimates are down, like the Lee Sin kick. However, Gragas' explosive cast is available, but with so many members available to Velocity in the mid lane area, they're able to take down that tower without much of a fight.
And this is, I'm really intrigued by the late game that's going to be coming out here, because you can't necessarily split push against Vi Orianna because unless you're super far ahead, because their ability to initiate fights is just colossal. And then the siege potential from Jayce is also very strong. It's also really hard to initiate into a Nami. So I feel like we're in a situation where Velocity have a team that wins harder. Like if they win, they win harder. But they have to have something happen that pushes them over that edge. And right now, that hasn't necessarily happened for them. They're only down 1,500 gold at the 21-minute mark. So if they do have the potential to just like fight themselves back in this one, make a couple good catches happen, then you know they very easily could take control of this game. If that does happen, I feel like a lot of that work is going to have to come from Fragnatic, who is leading the CS right now with 185 CS and has 4 kills all to himself.
Contesting dragons, contesting barons, and getting fights in the jungle area is something that Velocity is definitely going to want to favor. Like you said, they have the AoE, they have a bit of a wombo combo on their side to really win fights harder than ggLA is going to be able to. But with the way that ggLA is moving around the map, the way that Bischu, rather than being an explosive cast, disengage, or separation from the fight, he's using it more as a split push and pick potential. Combo that with Yazuki, who's gone for a Ravenous Hydra build, there's a lot of potential to disrupt the side of Velocity. As we see right here, it looks like an easy catch on Nydus, but a shutdown comes out for him as Bischu and KOR Kez show up almost out of nowhere. Zig has to be forced away. NK Inc. takes a barrel to the back of the head for his trebles, trying to save his ally right here. Does get a Vault Breaker to stutter step onto KOR Kez, and Zig's going to be able to just put himself away from that one.
And also very nice positioning from NK Inc. Knew he had to body block out that Sonic Wave, or else he was going to lose Zig. But that's what I mean. That was sort of what I was kind of talking about. They're not ahead, so they don't have the potential to just burst people down in situations like that. And so they weren't able to really make anything happen. They thought that they had gotten the pick. They thought that they could have just cleaned up the support. But NydusHerMain just threw down the box, didn't even flash. Was able to get himself out of this one. And now Velocity with a tough ask at defending this tower.
Ooh, the tidal wave goes out, separates Yazuki and KOR Kez. Zig goes extremely low, but he doesn't go down. NK Inc. gets kicked back into the team. Hook is a death sentence right there. Yazuki picks up the kill. Tower executes Nydus at the same time, and Bobbyhankhill gets revenge for his support player right there by taking the tower out of the equation. It's a 1-for-1 trade. It's a kill for the side of ggLA and an execute for the side of Velocity. And ooh, the explosive cast back up already. Bobbyhankhill and Bischu secure that kill right there onto Fragnatic. He was the playmaker for Velocity, but unfortunately he's died twice since we called that one out. Guess it's a little bit of a commentator's curse. Is now Velocity on the chase right here. Ooh, look at the HP being chunked out. Yazuki goes back in, gets the reset on Frommaplestreet, absolutely obliterates Lucian in that circumstance. Flash away from Zig and Velocity. That's the gold deficit that you're talking about, Malthus. It wasn't that big, but they aren't that close to ggLA. And even in a chase situation with low HP bars, Velocity gets obliterated by ggLA's turn.
I honestly, I have no words for the damage that just came out of Khaz'ix on the Lucian. Like for Maplestreet, for a second, he was there. He was a little over half health, and then, you know, Khaz'ix just jumped on him and he ceased to exist. I mean, there was nothing else to it. And King a little slow to the dragon here, and now he's gonna be a little trouble. Ooh, the juice.
Ooh, NK gets blasted back into the fight right there by Bischu. Explosive cast, that's 3 in this prolonged engagements that we've seen. Shutdown does wind up falling down onto Zig against Yazuki. Command Shockwave locks up KOR Kez and Bischu. The Assault and Battery goes down onto KOR Kez, and Evaniskus picks that kill up. A kill is a kill is a kill, though, for Velocity, as now they chase down the Nydus. Bischu throwing barrels to try to get them away from his support. Dissonance goes off to speed up NK, but he had a different idea in mind, which was, let's not overextend into the enemy team by myself, and Velocity backs away from that one after picking up 2 kills for themselves.
Very, very nice play coming out here from Velocity. These are the kind of picks that they need because they have to build up that gold lead. They're 5,000 gold behind right now. There's a ping down onto the open inhibitor coming out from ggLA, and this is a very, very brave call to move in onto the Baron, as Bischu's explosive cast is going to be up very soon.
Bischu has to try to steal this away. The Smite is dead and has just revived for the side of ggLA. Barrel goes out, Nydus goes in, pops the fly up. Is he going to steal it? No! Smite holds true for NK, but NK goes down and kill credit goes to Nydus. Lucian picks up a kill there, and he picks up a second one for himself, making it a 2-for-1 trade in favor of Velocity. They snag themselves the Baron as well.
And the Lucian ultimate killed somebody, which I feel that's worth pointing out because you don't really see that all that often. He was able to, I mean, his team was there kind of wailing away on that Gragas, and it was actually the culling that picked up a kill. So, I mean, this is a very, very nice play coming out here from Velocity. I mean, that was a very brave call to move in towards that Baron. There were a lot of things that could have gone very wrong. NydusHerMain tried to use the Flay to reposition people back onto the Gragas barrel, so he could have gone with a 1-2 combo and both gone for the Baron steal and chunk down the entire team at the same time. But they just couldn't quite time it just right. And NK, I mean, he's been having a terrific week as far as smiting away objectives, and it's you know, his streak is continuing.
NK has definitely had a fantastic time in the jungle since we've seen him debut at Velocity. He's definitely been a crutch for the team, and now that he has some support from people like Fragnatic in that mid lane, who you said comboing in with the initiation for NK, they're the 1-2 punch from Velocity that's really keeping them in these team fight situations. Let's not forget, they also have a sub in the top lane, so they don't have their normal communication like someone that Chris is going to offer to their table right here. So they are able to pull off these AoE team fights, they're able to go for the objectives, and they're able to make the proper calls despite having that substitute on their side. Now you can kind of say the same thing for ggLA, where they've been rotating around the map, they've been moving around and getting these picks very well and keeping the communication up with their own substitute and AD carry. And it's just very impressive what these teams offer to the table, even though they don't have their quote-unquote normal rosters for each other. Now, what they're going to wind up doing with this Baron buff is a question I have for Velocity. They are still a little bit behind in the gold count, about 3,000 deficit. That Baron buff's going to make up for some of those statistics, but is it going to make up for some of the item acquisitions? Void Staff, Death Cap, and Athene's Unholy Grail on Bischu, compared to just 2 of those items picked up for Fragnatic. We have a Trinity Force on Zig, which we actually haven't touched upon, which is a very unique buy and something that Zig has actually advocated for a very long time on pretty much any top laner that he plays, compared to a lot of itemization on Yazuki. Hook lands over the wall from Nydus here, and well, that's the powerful support that we've seen and known and loved. He winds up helping Bobbyhankhill pick up a kill for himself. It's the 3rd one of the game for Caitlyn, and it's a pick that ggLA wanted to get.
I mean, there was just a flash blind hook over the wall. He had no way of knowing exactly where Zig juked to. It was just complete prediction there, and man, did he just nail it. I was able to pick up that kill. But, you know, the culling is fantastic at clearing out creep waves. It's going to make it very, very difficult for the side of ggLA to continue this push. But they're not necessarily concerned about pushing base towers because they're buying time for Yazuki to just sit in the bottom lane and farm. He's up to 209 CS, and I'm trying to think, is there anybody that can actually take this Khaz'ix 1v1 right now?
I'm not sure that there is somebody that can take him in a straight-up 1v1 situation. When he has been shut down, it's been in a team fight situation. When he's been forced to back away, it's been a combination of Zig and NK doing so. Now, they have the Baron buff kind of pause button still on them, 4 of the 5 members of the team. So, or actually 3 of the 5 members of the team, because NK wound up going down in the Baron pit fight. So they still don't want to charge in from ggLA's side and wind up getting into a disadvantageous fight on an inhibitor tower, or fighting in the enemy base and getting caught out by that giant AoE shockwave combo that Velocity have. So right now, they're clearing out everything else on the map. We saw them steal with the red buff, we saw them moving over towards blue buff. Dragon's going to be available in about a minute or 2, and we'll have to see if they wind up fighting for that one. But right now, they don't want to overextend into Velocity side of the map, and they don't want to fight them in a situation where a tower could be a 6th member that Velocity really, really needs.
We mentioned in the prior game that Curse didn't necessarily bring a lot of tankiness to the fight, you look at the side of Gold Gaming Los Angeles right now, and even the jungler was like the tankiest member of Curse in the last game with that Elise. And this Lee Sin is, I would say, is not quite as tanky. I mean, pretty close to it, probably as to where Elise was at this point in the game. But this is another relatively squishy lineup. So if the side of Velocity are able to kind of weather that front-loaded burst, if they're able to extend the duration of these engagements, the Orianna Command Protect is going to become huge. The very, very tanky Vi at this point is going to become huge. This could be very, very problematic as we see Velocity group up and try to make some push happen in the mid lane.
Speaking of tanky Vi and Elixir of Fortitude, the red pot has been picked up for NK Inc. too, so he has a burst of HP, so Velocity are definitely looking to fight sometime in the near future. Baron buff may have gone down, so they don't have those stats on their side, but with as much pumping up as possible that they have, they're going to have to see if this engagement is something that they want to go for. On the flip side, though, ggLA has an Elixir of their own onto Bobbyhankhill, and the poke coming up from both of these teams is immense. Gragas Barrel is definitely doing a lot more than was Trinity 4's Last Whisper Jayce Shockwaves at this point in time. And actually, KOR Kez going in, was it kicking Pragmatic back into a NydusHerMain hook. Command Shockwave rips through ggLA, though. It's a 1-for-1 trade. Mid laner for support. Bobbyhankhill chasing down on the Tetris God Zig. That's a double kill for Caitlyn. Flash forward. Triple kill picked up for Caitlyn. Looks like the cleanse comes out. He stutter sets, but goes down to Frommaplestreet. On the flip side, though, NK Inc.'s gonna get deleted right there by Yazuki. It is a 4-for-2 fight in favor of ggLA, and they shove back Velocity.
I mean, that was just such an impressive catch. I mean, KOR Kez was just so on point with his Lee Sin there, and then NydusHerMain landing that death sentence at absolutely max range, canceling out the flash from Pragmatic and forcing the initiation in a position that Velocity weren't ready for. That was all it took. That one catch and all that burst damage coming to bear was just absolutely colossal. Frommaplestreet has to be very careful, because there are two champions here in the form of Gragas and Khaz'ix that if they get their hands on it, they will melt that Lucian.
Not to mention the fact that Gragas' explosive cask is up in about 10 seconds right now, so he definitely has a very short cooldown on that one, and Frommaplestreet knows that he had to back away. The inhibitor winds up going down, and ggLA mark it with a very spooky ward of their own right there, a little spider ward coming out. So now it's ggLA, they've taken an inhibitor, they've weathered the Baron Storm, and they've taken every other objective on the map. The only thing left open for them right now are inhibitor towers. 7 down compared to 3, and the vision is also something they have to control. Nydus actually going to cut out right here by Zig and Evaniskus. Toss the play down. Yazuki shows his face, and, well, it looks like the side of Velocity, they're going to wind up backing away. They're concerned about the vision as well, because that Baron is going to be up in 20 seconds, Malthus.
Yeah, this 20-second respawn, this is going to be colossal. If whichever team is able to control this Baron is going to have such a huge advantage coming into this one, not only because of the buff, not only because of the extra golden experience, but because of the positional advantage that they'll have on the map. If they're the ones who control the Baron area, if they're the ones who are able to force the opposing team to come into them, then they can make one of those catches happen, and they can take one of those big targets out of the fight. Like, Pragmatic getting erased at the start of that fight was like part and parcel why ggLA were able to come out that far ahead rather at the end of the fight. There weren't, consistent command protect spam. There wasn't consistent command attack and dissonant spam, and that's a huge part of Orianna's presence in the team fight. It's not just the shockwave. It's what she does after the shockwave that makes her important. If they can't pick up one of those big picks at the start of the fight, then who knows? Maybe the next fight doesn't go that well.
Well, we're going to have to wind up finding out, because this next fight might be coming soon. Baron is live on the map, and a hook just barely goes wide left of Zig here. And they have to be extremely careful. Look at the damage that NK Inc. is taking, despite the Nami heal coming out there from just one barrel from Gragas. Now, both of the teams are in interesting positions. Lee Sin is kind of split off, and he is the main tank of ggLA. We said this before. He is the tankiest member of their team and the only one that they have. So if he's split off onto the side, the vulnerable underbelly of the ggLA composition is definitely exposed. But with a lot of poking and a lot of prodding here, they're able to force back Velocity from this Baron pit area and establish some vision dominance on this one. Nydus throws a hook out, but it's just behind NK Inc. Not going to be able to apprehend Officer Vi with that one, as the poke continues to come out from the side of ggLA. They're content just sitting here and pushing away from Velocity, because they have super minions pushing in that mid lane. They are wailing away on Nexus towers, and Pragmatic's actually motion towards mid lane to go stop the push coming out, so they're starting Baron. The culling goes out, trying to deal as much damage as possible. NK Inc. gets evaporated though as he goes in. Yazuki might have getting a kill onto Evaniskus as well. Zig gets kicked back into the fight. Double kill winds up going down there for Bischu. Ace in the hole comes out just to say, get the heck away from here, Velocity. They trade 3 for 1, only losing Yazuki in that trade, and now it's a Baron for ggLA.
this is that positional advantage I was trying to talk about before, where whichever team controls the Baron area will be able to do things like that. They can just consistently apply poke, be able to make those kinds of fights happen. As NydusHerMain goes back in and goes down, they're going to stop this Baron.
NydusHerMain from Maplestreet goes down extremely low, as does Frommaplestreet. The Baron wailing away on Bobbyhankhill, though. They do stop the Baron for now, so Velocity, despite losing that fight, they're able to take an overzealous ggLA and just stop them from doing that Baron and stop a lot of the advantages from winning right there.
That was huge. That was so brave. I mean, just Lucian and Orianna stepping forward there and being able to stop that. They still, obviously, they come out pretty far behind on that one. Not only did they lose out as far as number of kills that went down, creep waves are pushing in towards their towers. That's golden experience. It's going down. Those towers are taking damage. That's another important resource. Tower HP at this point in the game is as much a resource as anything else. And just like that, we see ggLA. They say, okay, we came out ahead. We're sure we didn't get the Baron last time, but hey, we built our advantage. Let's go right back to it.
They go straight back to the Baron, and this time they have a Khaz'ix on their side. But what they don't really have available is Nydus. But it's not really going to matter because the vision doesn't have to be denied because Velocity was too far back in their own base. And a Baron this time around goes over to the side of ggLA. So Baron buffs have been split at 1 apiece. The tower is heavily in favor of ggLA. The kills also going in their favor. 23 compared to 15 with about a 7,500 gold lead. It's 58.3k to 50.7k. ggLA, now that they have that Baron buff, they're going to do what they did last time. When they forced Velocity back into their base, they cleared out both sides of the jungle, they cleared out as many wards as possible, and they tried to make Velocity jump on them. Now, Velocity, last time they jumped on them, they lost the Baron fight, but they're still able to kind of equalize and stall ggLA. Now, are they going to be able to do the same thing when their opponents have a Baron buff is the big question.
It's going to be so tough, and so much of it is, once again, going to come down to these catches, these picks that they're making again and again. KOR Kez has been having a fantastic Lee Sin game, because, I mean, you look at him, right, it's 36 minutes, and he has 70 CS, so he's not tanking anything. When it comes down to it, he's got a Locket, he's got the Ruby Sightstone, he's bought himself up a Chain Vest, but he lacks the HP to really be anywhere near the lineup of Velocity for more than 3 seconds at most without just dying. So it's all about getting in, kicking out a really important target, and then basically trading his life for one of the high value targets on the side of Velocity. If he's able to successfully do that, then we might see them coming out further and further ahead in these fights. But if they can't make that happen, Velocity still very much in this one.
If Maplestreet or Fragnatic go down, it's going to be an opening for ggLA to tear through the base of Velocity. But like you said, if we see KOR Kez trading his life for not one of those 2 targets, then Velocity are definitely going to be in a better situation for that fight. You said it earlier on in the game, Malphus, when the way that Velocity's composition works, if they win a fight, they win it harder than ggLA is going to be able to do. If ggLA get a pick on the wrong person, that fight could still decisively go in Velocity's favor, despite all the advantages that ggLA currently possess.
Alright, so we see right now ggLA, they do have that advantage. They are pressing this in, and it's so much of this at this point comes down to Bobbyhankhill just doing the work. See the tidal wave come out, they want to start this fight. They're not going to be able to.
Well, the tidal wave goes out, and despite trying to dodge it, the flash there from Bobbyhankhill didn't get him out of the full range, so he burns flash, and he burns the Banshee's Veil spell shield right there. So tidal wave actually wasn't all for naught, as now Caitlyn's not going to have a lot of escape potential here, but is she going to need to is the big question. The second inhibitor tower is going to be going down in the bottom lane, while Yazuki threatens to push towards the Nexus, towards the mid lane. Inhibitor down to half HP, in comes NK Inc. The command shockwave not going to wind up going down because he was too far away. And then we also see Orianna getting blown up in that circumstance. Zig gets run over by Bischu. Yazuki's in the backline, picking up a double kill for himself, as all the damage is gone from the side of Velocity. See you later, Evaniskus, says Yazuki. A triple kill picked up for that bouncing baby Khaz'ix. GG comes out from Evaniskus right there. They're chasing on the NK Inc. Yazuki wants a quadra kill. Yazuki wants to pick this one up for himself. Can he get it? Leads on the NK Inc. He jumps over the wall. Not going to get that, but it doesn't matter because his allies are in the base of Velocity. They're taking down the Nexus towers, and ggLA are going to close out the game against Velocity and pick up the win.
That fight was Bischu. I mean, it was the Bischu fight. He did get the ace right at the very end there. But when it comes down to it, Bischu with just like, I mean, I've never really called a spell an MVP before, but that explosive cask which just blasted Velocity away, put Orianna out of range, kept them from getting the hard initiation down onto Bobbyhankhill that they wanted to try to make that fight work. It was going to be a very, very tenuous fight, no matter how they cut it. But the fact that Bischu just split them in half and just blew basically the front line, which in that case was Vi and who else was up there? It was Vi and Zig that went trying to dive and try to pick up the kill on Bobbyhankhill. And the fact that it was just the two of them all alone bought enough time for the side of Gold Gaming Los Angeles to do as much damage as they wanted. Yazuki got to the backline where there were no tanks whatsoever, did what Khaz'ix does best, just kills people, and that was all that's all she wrote for